Senator Virginia.
Mr. President, I'm glad to join my colleagues to talk about the upcoming vote on Senate Joint Resolution 84, the use of the Congressional Review Act to strike down a recent regulatory attack on the Affordable Care Act launched by the Trump administration. I think my colleagues have done a pretty good job of explaining what's at stake. Even the Trump administration's own experts at CMS, the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services, say that implementation of this rule could lead up to 1.8 million people to lose health insurance just this year, 2026. That would be devastating. On top of the premium increases that people have seen because the Affordable Care Act extended tax credits were not extended when tax cuts for the wealthiest were extended, this additional burden on this 1.8 million person population is unacceptable. And the vote we'll cast today gives us all an opportunity to sort of shore up the healthcare network for that nearly 2 million people. I wanted to focus in particular on a kind of person who is really going to be affected by the Trump rule if we do not affirmatively embrace this Congressional Review Act resolution, and that is self-employed entrepreneurs and gig workers. You know, one of the challenges about the American healthcare system before the Affordable Care Act was it was very, very difficult to buy health insurance if you were an individual entrepreneur, if you had a very small business. Without exchanges and the offering of policies on the exchanges with premium support for those who were lower middle income, you had a lot of people who were self-employed or entrepreneurs who couldn't buy insurance at all. And then you also had a huge group of people working with companies that had insurance that had this great American dream of an idea to start their own business, but they couldn't do it because if they were to leave their large employer to go off and follow their dream, they couldn't get health insurance. And one of the very salutary effects of the ACA through the creation of exchanges with premium support has been to enable people to pursue their dream and become innovators or entrepreneurs or gig workers and work in the way and in the flexible circumstance they choose. And Mr. President, I speak from experience because 2 of my 3 kids fit into this category. The rule that has been put in place by the Trump administration isn't going to make it particularly hard for large group plans to just re-up insurance, but it will make it very hard for those individuals that don't have an HR department fighting for them, that have to figure it out all on their own. It will make it very hard for them to negotiate the marketplace and buy insurance. And sometimes their income is up, and sometimes their income is down, and sometimes they want to enroll, and at other times they don't. It's precisely this kind of person that is going to be hit the hardest by the Trump rule, and why I'm so strongly in support of my colleagues' efforts to repeal it. You know, we often say, Mr. President, I'll conclude, that small businesses and startups are the backbones of the American economy, and they are. I grew up in a house with a dad who worked for a huge company, and it was his dream to start his own business. And he bought a little ironworking shop that at the time that he bought it had like 4 employees. And during the entire growing up period where I worked in my dad's shop, in a good year it would be 7 employees, and in a bad year it would be 4, plus my mom and my 2 brothers and me. So many American businesses are just like this. They're 1 or 2 employees. There's somebody who even has another gig, maybe as an artist, and they're moonlighting in some area where they can make just enough to afford to buy health insurance on the exchange if we don't crush them with high premiums and if we don't make the paperwork burdens so substantial. The CRA that my colleagues are offering will be directly responsive to the needs of this very, very important group of American innovators and entrepreneurs. And that's why I so strongly support it and urge my colleagues to do the same. Thank you.